Hi, everybody. Happy Friday. Thanks for joining me in the locker room today. I'm Alan Locher. Emmy Award-winning writer Victor Miller introduced the world to Jason Voorhees when he wrote the original screenplay for Friday the 13th. In addition to writing Jason and Friday the 13th, Victor wrote for several daytime dramas, including All My Children, Another World, Guiding Light, and One Life to Live. He was born in New Orleans, Louisiana, and raised on Long Island, and graduated from Yale University with a Bachelor's of Arts in English and from Tulane University with an MA in Theater and Speech. He is the co-founder of the American Shakespeare Theater Center for Theater Techniques in Education as well. It is my pleasure to welcome to the locker room Emmy Award winner Victor Miller. Techniques hey there. In Education as well. It is my pleasure to welcome to the locker room Emmy Award winner Victor Miller.
Thank you.
Hey there. In Education.
I'm hearing another voice.
Do you have the YouTube link open somewhere?
Do I have the YouTube? Oh, yes. Let me try to get rid of it.
Yeah, that's probably what it is.
Another voice.
Do you have the YouTube?
There.
There we go.
Oh, okay.
How are you, sir? Thank you so much for being here.
Well, I'm well, except for not understanding all the vicissitudes of YouTube, but that seems to work just fine. So.
You figured it out. You figured it out. What? Take us back to your childhood in New Orleans. What was your childhood like, Victor?
Well, it was 1940 through 1946 inclusive. It was Jim Crow New Orleans. Wow. And it was very weird to be in that sort of deal. I was one of, ultimately I was one of four, but I was one of three for the first bunch. And my father was off in the Atlantic with the Navy because it was post Pearl Harbor by the time I could walk around and talk. And then he spent the next part of the war in the Pacific. So we lived with my mother, who was rather odd.
How so?
How so? Well, she.
You said it.
I know we're all nuts. So, though my older sister and older brother have passed away, but my mother was an only child, and that's not the title of my autobiography. But she had four kids, and all she could do was treat each one of us as an only child. The net of that, I do believe, was that we were all kind of pitted against each other. I don't think she did it on purpose, but it's the only way she could treat us. She couldn't treat groups of humans. So it was pretty weird is what it was. And then my father came back from the war, and we moved north to Long Island, where he was a cotton broker in Manhattan every day. And so we were basically raised in that element of Long Island where
whereabouts
some people talked like that and other people didn't. And I don't believe I fit in. I think I was one of the only people in my immediate group who had to wear tie shoes with his tuxedo. They all had those slippers, with the patent leather slippers with black bows on the front. And so it was weird. And then it was part of the deal in our family that you get sent away to school. So off I went in 1953 or 4 to Milton Academy in Milton, Massachusetts, where I spent 5 years of a boys' boarding school, which it wasn't exactly Charles Dickens, but it wasn't any fun either. And then
what do you think you learned at Milton that helped you later on in life?
That cheaters win. I don't know. That it's not who you are, it's who you know, I guess, and things like that. Oh Lord God, it was weird. And and then off I went to Yale. Which was more fun because it wasn't quite as locked down and weird.
And you studied creative writing at Yale, correct?
I was an English major, and but my my love was creative writing. And so I took a course from Robert Penn Warren, and there he was, the guy who wrote the books and the screenplays and things like that. And so that was exciting. And after that, I got married. I had a job so that I could afford the bar bill at the fraternity. And so I worked in the audiovisual center, editing the audio tapes for the Yale series of recorded poets. And don't get me wrong, I wasn't fixing their poems, but because they were in this incredibly beautiful system for recording in the studio, and we were using the big Ampex decks where the 15 inches per minute or whatever it was, God, and with a razor blade and tape and Scotch tape. And so we would have some, I've forgotten which poet it was, but it was romantic and lyrical and whatnot. And he took a beat and he went, and that was that much on the tape.
Oh my
So
God.
I had to take out all that and the spit bubbles from, whenever I see birches bending right and left against this, and so I had to take a few things out of that. But and the woman who was in charge of getting my paycheck was new, and she messed up, and so I didn't get it. But then I found her at a fraternity party and married her.
You got paid.
Yeah, I got paid, and
you got paid.
And we are still together. She's downstairs somewhere.
Amazing.
Since 1961, and here it is 2021. So
bravo.
60 years of me, which is just awful.
She must not think so.
No, so, evidently she has interior armor.
Tell me where your love of creative writing stemmed from.
I think it kind of came from something that Robert Penn Warren said when he was lying to an audience, because I had heard his lectures before to would-be writers, and he said into this audience, he said, we writers, there's nothing special, we just gossips. But when I was there with my short stories out in front of him and he was marking them all over the place, he was not talking about just being a gossip. He was talking about actually having a craft and a skill and an art. But I do like the fact that it was fun to do gossip, to create characters who got in trouble, not me. And so it let my own paranoia fly, which was great fun. And I wasn't ready to write a book on how to be a better person or how to get along with your parents, but it just appealed to me. And I was raised also. I think a big influence on me was I was raised on radio, and my mother once, she heard me. We weren't supposed to listen to the radio after X o'clock, whatever it was. And this was when we were in Florida with my father at one point. And she heard me listening to Baby Snooks, which was a comedy show. And she came up the stairs and grabbed this super heterodyne radio with the tubes glowing in the dark and threw it down the stairs to punish me for listening to the radio after dark. And then, I just listened to detective shows and I got scared to death. Things like Yours Truly, Johnny Dollar, and Suspense and all these things. So it was
radio more.
Yeah, radio, definitely.
Because I was going to ask if there was a book that had a large impact, but it seems radio was what had the impact.
It was Who Knows What Evil Lurks in the Mind of Men, the Shadow Knows, and all those, and The Lone Ranger, and I could tell you what station and what time and what day of the week everything was on. The Green Hornet was here and the Lone Ranger was over there, and
Wow.
and so that part, and the fact also that my mother dropped me and my older brother off at the movies every Saturday. So between radio and great, wonderful black and white movies, I was done in, and I thought it was
Yeah,
just
your imagination was
yeah,
running wild. Did when you were about to graduate college, what did you hope to do with your degrees? Did you have a goal in mind?
Oh, I wanted to be famous. Fill this box in. Famous in what area? Well, writing probably, but I figured you don't just get out of Yale and get money for writing. So the first job I had was a job at Benton and Bowles Advertising in New York City at 666 Fifth Avenue, which is across from where that gaudy Trump building is, more or less. And at any rate, I was in the television programming department, and my job was to read the scripts of the radio and television shows, mostly television, before they were shot, because in those days, the advertisers, I was obviously working for an ad agency, the advertisers had much more power than they do now. They're virtually powerless. But for instance, one of my favorite one was, as I went through this thing, I couldn't believe I had to do this, but I was East Coast, and this was a show on the West Coast or whatever, and somebody in one of the shows said, "I'm going to wash your mouth out with soap," and I had to call the West Coast to say, "Please edit that because the Crest is the sponsor." And they don't want any bad references to oral hygiene.
Wow.
So yeah, my first job encouraged, basically should have listed as sellout, because here I had been sitting at the elbow of Robert Penn Warren and telling people to knock it off with it, wash your mouth out with soap, so that it didn't hurt Crest's feelings. And then we had shows like The Nurses, where they were always wanting to do things, down there, which of course the advertisers never would have put up with.
Was Benton and Bowles handling the P&G soaps at the time?
Yes, but that was really so déclassé that I didn't pay any attention to it. There was, because Don Wallace was down the end of the hall, and he basically, with Irving Vendig and all those other writers of the soaps, both radio and television, they were down there, and we didn't pay much attention to them because we would do things like, I don't know, Mary Tyler Moore showed up one day because she was in one of the shows that we ran, and I guess. Yeah, one time I had to go down to do something at one of the soaps, but I really wasn't interested. That was beneath me, because after all, I'd been learning fiction from Robert Penn Warren. So, but the odd thing was that I spent a great deal of my childhood listening to the soaps in the daytime. I would get sick on purpose, and I would listen to, I don't know, Ma Perkins and all these other. It was just fun listening to the stories online. So,
do you listen to many podcasts today?
Almost none.
Okay.
None.
I was curious because we're going back sort of in time with podcasts.
Exactly. But no, I watch far too much. Oh God, what do we got? We've got all these different providers of shows that have already been done and are around, and we got. So
all
I'm
the streaming
watching,
platforms.
Yeah, I'm watching like 19 episodes of something. The Resident. I'm absolutely loving The Resident, and it's great fun. And then I got we got different things, different versions of all of these things, and And my wife and I just sit and stare at the screen.
So when you used to be dropped off at the movies, is there a movie from back then that you remember having a major impact on you?
Um, yeah, but a lot of them were serials. Literally with the guy tying the lady to the tracks and things like that. And um, oh God, there was one where this evil man was in a cavern with this radio thing, and he would talk to all of his men, and they would do evil things, and it was just great fun. But I saw I think the two movies that I remember the best are not Gone with the Wind, High Noon, and All Quiet on the Western Front.
Mm.
Those just knocked the bejesus out of me, because I had never seen anything like All Quiet on the Western Front, and I was just, holy shit, and that was a fairly accurate presentation of how awful things were. So I began to grow up while watching these things. Pardon me.
And with Halloween fast approaching, and everyone at this time of year is always talking about horror movies. Jason Voorhees, can you take us back in time to where the idea came from? I think I read that it had something to do with your childhood dreams.
Oh yeah, I mean, it had a great deal. That's fast news. Okay. I've just got a message from a friend of mine who's going to come see me tomorrow or Sunday.
Oh, nice.
This is multitasking writ low.
It pops up on the screen, so
Yes.
it's hard not to see it. So yeah, take us back to before.
Oh, okay. Well, first of all, the key to everything, it lies under the bed, which I've mentioned many times. That I was always afraid that there was something under the bed that was going to come up and get me. So before getting in and my mother coming in and tucking me in, I would check underneath the bed to make sure that there was nothing evil down there. And she had to close the closet door because that way I would hear him if he came out of there. And so that part is just absolute 100% Victor, young Victor, with the guy under the bed. And also, there were things like, oh God, somebody punched me in the face once. And I thought, my God, that's awful. And so that explained the knife in the face for that poor young woman. And the archery thing, I'd seen so many awful Westerns where the Indians were always bad. And they were going to come and get you with an arrow, so that we certainly did the arrow bit. And it was just, I wasn't conscious of saying, well, what was I afraid of? But these things just came unbidden. They just came, as I was thinking through the work, and well, what should happen now? And where
did you set out to write this type of movie? Like, what was the process back then? Were you looking to?
Oh yeah, no. The process was oh God, what was the movie that preceded us?
Halloween is before you.
Halloween, yeah.
Halloween,
all right.
Yes.
So Halloween gave me a chart for how to do things. I mean, the key was to make sure you find a lot of randy teenagers and have them chase each other around as naked as possible, and then pick them off one by one. The hard part was to figure out why would that be interesting, so it had to have elements of mystery and all kinds of other things. And what was really, I guess, part of my inheritance for having been an English major was that there had to be a prior evil. I mean, the Bible knows that. Somebody has to do something, even if it's only eating a fucking apple when you're told not to. And from that, you get what, all these awful things. But I mean, somebody has to eat the apple, and then the rest of us get screwed. But that's literally how these things work, and it's not for nothing that the Bible knew what it was doing. When it cooked up all that goodies. That if you want to scare somebody, just tell them you may be warm and fuzzy and drinking in your mother's breast, but you've done something so bad that you don't even know about, that you are fucked. So
that's funny. I heard you describe that. Who better to write a horror movie than somebody who has never watched one? Had you not watched many before?
The scariest one, let's see. Yes, I ran out. We were in Green Cove Springs, Florida for a year when my father was the executive of the Navy base. And I would just wander over, because in those days, nobody got hurt. And so I just wander over to the to where they ran movies for the sailors, and went in, and I went to something called Seven Keys to Baldpate, which was a really bad play, I think, on Broadway, and they made it into a movie, and it had some scary parts, and I ran out. I was like 6 years old. I ran out to death of that thing, and I was not very big on scary movies if I could help it, but I stayed through them because I didn't want to. I had to stay butch, but it's. I wasn't really mad for them, though I did like Vincent Price a lot because he was so camp that I didn't take him seriously. And what was the other one that just scared the bejesus out of me? It'll come to me. But
so once you had this written, did you go and pitch this to the studio?
Oh, no. That was Sean and I had done. Sean Cunningham was the producer and the director, and he and I had worked on some projects before, one of them being Manny's Orphans, which was basically a remake of Bad News Bears. But
okay.
And then we did another one called Kick, which was Steve Miner's screenplay or whatever. And then came, Halloween, and so it was obvious that children's movies were not what was going to be selling. So I sat down and worked on all the possible details and things, and the rest is cinema history.
It is. Do you remember where you were on May 9th, 1980, when the movie opened?
I certainly do. I was in a line at a movie theater in Milford, Connecticut, the Orange Center, I think it was called. And we went to the first screening with my wife and two good friends. And so we went to the early show, and it was great fun and whatnot. And the funny part, because I had already seen it at screenings, in the editing and also in Manhattan. And but as we, as the music, Harry Manfredini's incredible symphonic suite comes in there, and it's all lovely and hello, and then Jason comes out of the water. Well, we were still sitting there because we knew not to leave, but half the audience has already headed for the door with their overcoats on, and suddenly the rest of the audience was screaming, and they all whipped around and realized Jason has come out of the water. And then when we came out of the theater itself, the line was about at least 100 yards long. So clearly
for the next showing.
Yeah.
So, I was 14. I remember. Yeah. And I think they had people dressed as Jason. I remember being scared to death.
Yeah.
Could you have imagined? I mean, you said the rest is history.
Never.
But here we are 41 years later, and people still talk about this movie.
They not only talk about this movie, they write me horrible things on Facebook, not Facebook, I don't do Facebook, but instant messaging, where they blame me for not having any more iterations of the Jason games and stuff like that. And when all I was doing was exercising a right that was given to me by Congress in 1978 or 9. So anyway, we've been through 2 versions of that, and we've won both of them. And who knows what's going to come? But there we are.
When, at what point in the journey did you realize the film had become a cult classic? Do you remember having?
Oh, I knew we were on the edge of it when that horrible movie critic, I can't remember his name, on the Today Show.
Gene Shalit?
Huh? Gene Shalit? Could be. I don't know. Anyway, he was quoted as saying he thought that Sean and I should both be shot at dawn for creating this awful thing. And that's so I knew that we had at least made the dailies, and then I would see the Variety every week and see it up at the top of the list. So,
wow. What do you remember about Kevin Bacon, Betsy Palmer, Adrienne King, working with all of them back then?
Well, I had very little to do with them. The last thing an actor wants to do is talk to a writer. But they have much better words.
I think that's very different in daytime, though.
Oh God, yes. Oh, that well, depends on who's wearing the Lucci. But the deal is, I was there for one day, and I was there for the day that Kevin Bacon got the arrow through his sternum, which, as all your medical students will agree, is impossible to do, through the springs and the mattress and his backbone and his rib cage and out here. But we didn't care. And it was wonderful. And they did it in one take, which was good because it took hours to set up. And so that was it. And then I went home again. The writer is not necessarily wanted on the set.
Right. The creation of Mrs. Voorhees, I read something as well that you realized something 20 years later from a shrink who enlightened you. Mm-hmm. Can you share that?
I could probably share that if you knew my mother.
You alluded to it at the beginning.
Oh yeah. No, I alluded to all over the place. One of the most horrifying memories in my terrible four-year-old memory. I think it was 3 or 4. I don't. It's not something that I had on my license. I didn't at that time. But I was investigating a little girl from down the block who was my age, and we were doing what is been called ever since I've known it, playing doctor. And my mother came in with her hair on fire, almost literally, and laid into me and this poor little girl and whatnot. And I still get nightmares from it.
Oh God!
And so that's how I learned about sex. And you're going to get hurt.
Yeah, people can scar their children.
Oh boy!
Be careful.
Anyway, that was the psychiatrist talking to me about Mrs. M, and I can only assume she was as I said, she was an only child. I can only assume she had some sort of major event in her past. As we keep finding out everywhere we go, there are people who are being abused by everybody, and so who knows? But some of us never recover.
No, it does. It scars you. Where did you come up with the name for Camp Crystal Lake, which is out here in my state, New Jersey?
Well, there's a Chris. I know Nobi Bosco is to its fans, but
yeah,
North Jersey Scout Camp, whatever.
Right, it's a Boy Scout camp. Yeah, which I didn't even realize it because I looked at it today that they actually give tours.
Oh yeah.
So funny.
Mazel tov.
I know 40. I mean, again, crazy. And I know, my job before the pandemic took it away was I worked for a TV and movie tour company where people love to go see where things are filmed. So it
Oh,
doesn't surprise me that 41
right.
years later and people are still coming out to Camp Crystal Lake to see it.
When I got, let's see, I graduated from Tulane with a master's in theater. And I had a job at the Connecticut State Department of Education and the Shakespeare Theater. They'd gotten a grant to introduce vocational and technical high school students to Shakespeare and to theater craft. In case anybody didn't want to be a plumber but would like to build sets. At any rate, where was I going with that? That my mind is totally gone.
Camp Crystal Lake.
Oh, Camp Crystal Lake. Well, I had to commute every once in a while between Connecticut, Stratford, Connecticut, where the Shakespeare Theater used to be, and then drive up to Hartford to talk to the education people. And on the way, Crystal Lake.
Gotcha.
And I just remembered it. And so when I came up with it,
Love it.
Yeah.
Now, I know you've never been involved with any of the sequels that came after.
Right.
If you had been involved in part 2, did you ever think about how you would have continued the franchise?
No, I mean, Sean and I had done so many projects together that these were one-offs. I mean, we just never thought anything as a series. And
Gotcha.
And then when this went through the roof, I had already been hired by Columbia to do a picture. And remember, the rule in Hollywood is that studios make contracts, not pictures. And so I got like $100,000 for this thing. And meanwhile, Sean was going on with Friday the 13th, part 2. And so Columbia never made that movie. And I think they just like to go around to places and say, "Hey, I just got the writer Friday the 13th. Hey, how about that?" Hey. And then nothing happens. But and then eventually, I was doing fine. I sold another picture that didn't get made. I mean, that's what the life of the screenwriter is.
Right, yeah.
And I mean, I got file cabinets that got file cabinets. And though there was a lawyer who I had met through Sean, who said, "Would you like to write soap opera?" And I said, "I don't know. I've never seen one." And so he hooked me up with the Queen of Daytime, and
was that Agnes?
Agnes, yes, Agnes.
Agnes
And,
Nixon.
so I had lunch at the executive cafeteria, with wine yet, with the Queen of Daytime, me and her assistant, and I got quite liquored up on that and had a delightful time. I was very entertaining. It couldn't have been more entertaining. And so she said to me, I think I've forgotten what it was. It was some ridiculous amount of money. Like they paid me $500 or $1,200 a week to watch One Life to Live.
Wow. And
then give comments and meet with the staff and the head writer and all that kind of stuff. And so I said, "Oh, that's fine. I'll be glad to do that." And then I would go in and talk to Sam Hall and the rest of the critters. Peggy O'Shea was the assistant head writer, and eventually they said, "Well, do you want to work on story?" And I said, "Sure." And they said, "Well, why don't you just come in every day, and we'll pay you much more money?" I said, "Well,
how can I turn that down?"
I said, "Shangri-La." And you know what? I think one of the magics of that choice of mine was that I had spent a good 8 years of my life doing improvisation and theater games with people and in various aspects of the business. And I loved working in groups. And so when they let me work on One Life to Live with Sam Hall and the other critters, Michael Schnessel, Peggy O'Shea, and oh God, I can't remember who else. At any rate, there we were in this double boiler every day, coming up with stuff, and
you loved bouncing it off each other.
Yeah. I mean, it was like improv, and I said, this is just more fun because it's not just me saying, "Oh God, I wonder if they're going to hate this," and so we did that for a while, and that was fun. And then,
do you remember one of the first things you might have pitched, or that made it to air on One Life?
No, I mean, because it was that was the nice part. I mean, the whole thing is we all work together.
Yeah.
I mean, some people, Michael Schnessel had a lot of incredible ideas. After I left, he was the one who created the Under Earth thing.
Eterna? Eterna, was that?
Yeah. Michael was always out there, and he had these crazy ideas that were wonderful, but I'm not sure the world was ready for them. But at any rate, they had a reorganization for various and sundry reasons sometime around the Olympics in the 80s, whatever. And so they sent me over to All My Children, which I liked a lot more because they had a sense of humor over there. I mean, it was campier.
The canvas, the characters.
Yeah. And when you got a character like Tad Martin running around loose, it's going to be fun. And so.
Yeah. And someone like Michael playing him as well.
Oh yeah.
Combination.
By the way, has he worked recently?
He does a lot of General Hospital here and there. He's been on General Hospital.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think he's
I miss him. And then there was Katie. What's her name?
Katie McLean. Yeah. She's working a lot. She's actually producing and directing stuff as well.
Fabulous.
She produced a great film called Angie's Lost, which was about child trafficking. It was really very well done. Very well done. Yeah. You won the Emmy for One Life to Live, right? Your first Emmy, I believe.
Oh no, All My Children
was your first.
Yeah. The only Emmys, I got 3 Emmys, and they were all for All My Children.
Oh, okay.
One Life to Live.
I had that wrong.
Rarely blundered into Emmy world. Sam Hall never made many friends, and so all I know is that with Wisner Washam and Agnes Nixon and Lorraine Broderick, and it was a wonderful crowd, and we really had some fun. And
do you remember what your first win was for?
Not a clue.
Not a clue.
That's the thing about daytime is that you do not have time or space to think about what you just did, because
255 shows.
I got fired from All My Children at one point because I was up. I was just outrageous, but they deserved it. Anyway, they sent me over to the P&G shows, Another World.
Yes, which is where I worked on Guiding Light and As the World Turns. What do you remember why you were fired?
Just they thought I was. They didn't tell me. I mean, you're thinking you have daytime television confused with honesty. Never the twain shall meet.
They didn't share that
my
the details
favorite, though, I will go to my grave loving this moment the most, and that was, I think it was Another World, and we had one of those 2 guys, 1 girl, who's going to win her whatever, and my wife, that wonderful woman downstairs, had read in the New York Times that morning about a prostitute in Berlin who had the good or bad luck for double dating, I guess you'd call it, double dating a black serviceman and a white serviceman, and had twins, one of each color. And this is the New York Times, so this is not just True magazine making this shit up.
It wasn't the National Enquirer.
No, it wasn't the National Enquirer. So I wasn't about to have chocolate and vanilla babies, but I did say I knew she, this I've forgotten who the female was, but she was a great catch. And so all I was doing was building towards a scene I had written a million times, which was the nurse, the technician comes out of this, and they all say, "Is it mine? Is it mine?" I said, "That's both of yours." That's all I wanted. So they actually did it. Procter & Gamble went batshit crazy because they don't like anything that's even sort of smarmy. The Procter & Gamble just
and that was Another World?
Huh? I think it was Another World. I forget. Because I did Guiding Light and Another World and something else.
Well, I wonder if it was Blake. So you're saying there were two fathers to one baby?
One baby, yeah. She double dated.
Well, I wonder if it was Blake, Ross, and Rick on Guiding Light, if you wrote that. Because
they played it. It went, and then they unwrote it after they got rid of me. They unwrote it so that it was a technical error. Some joking technician clearly in the lab was
clearly made a mistake.
And so that to me signaled that was the daytime was doomed. That if we weren't ready for something that wonky, what more? All you're talking about is you're going to the laundromat and everybody's talking about this woman who has two babies from two different guys. Well, not for Procter & Gamble. They were dedicated to being straight down the middle all the time. Nothing funny. So what can I tell you?
For a lot of your career, you worked alongside Megan McTavish, right?
Wonderful, wonderful creator. Yeah.
How did you two team up?
Well, we had. Where did I first meet her? I guess I first met her at All My Children, and she rose in the firmament. Lorraine Broderick and I were head writers for about a week and a half, but. And then Megan, she was a breakdown writer like the rest of us. And then she was just absolutely wonderful with storylines. And so, but she is kind of, she's Scott's McTavish, and I don't think she liked criticism a lot. And so the network, I loved her. I loved everything she did. And the network was just, had trouble dealing with a woman who was convinced of her rectitude. And so it was bouncy, schmouncy, what can I tell you? It was a crazy world, but it paid for a whole bunch of college educations.
That's fantastic. Well, I have to tell you, so we were, I think, at Guiding Light for part of your time at the same time.
Really?
And yes, and Jonathan Reiner reminded me.
Oh God, yes.
Reminded me that you, Jonathan, Linda Sussman, and myself were all on a panel together at Quinnipiac College.
Holy bejesus.
I know. Jonathan remembered, so I'm glad somebody's got a better memory than me, but I love that fact. And who
knew?
Who knew?
I can barely remember the name of a producer I worked for. So,
well, I hope you can remember my next question.
Right.
I'm just curious because you did spend a number of years in daytime. Who were some of your favorite characters to create that you helped create while you were at whichever show?
Well, Tad Martin, obviously, he was a good bad boy. And oh Lord, the woman who left the show, but she ran the beauty salon.
On All My Children.
On All My Children, yeah.
One of the fans
she was
watching.
the kiss. She was the Kiss My Grits lady. She went on the nighttime.
Oh, Flo, Polly Holiday.
No,
the actress.
that doesn't sound right. Anyway, we had her.
One of the fans.
She was
Opal.
Opal. Yeah.
Yes.
Opal.
Thanks, Tony. Then, thanks, Tony. Yeah, Opal.
Opal and oh God, we were Billy Clyde Tuggle.
Oh, great character.
Those are Wisner Washam type characters, because he came from the South, and so he had a fine feeling for that kind of wackiness, and we were just on All My Children. We were just allowed to be cornball in some ways. That was really fun, and I think everybody could just get a kick out of it. These people just making every wrong step they possibly could, because if you don't, you've got no story, so
right, you got to have the drama. And the actress you were thinking of is Dorothy Lyman,
if you say so. Yes.
Yes. So you have two children, right?
I have two sons. One is a bass player who also works in public relations for Cal Berkeley, and cool. Another one who is sales and marketing for an elevator company, and I have a grandson who is about to is graduating with a degree in graphic arts soon. He's genius. Yeah, he's genius.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Do you remember the first time they got to see your sons got to see Friday the 13th?
I think so, but it was not 1980.
They did see it back then.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. No, it was no holds barred 1980, and so such was the fun.
Yeah, I bet. Do you have a favorite horror film over the past 4 decades since?
A favorite horror film.
Since Friday the 13th. Since
Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
God. I think many of Stephen King's things were really wonderful. And I mean, I bow down at his statue every chance I get. I mean, he knows how to do that thing, and so that would
do it well.
Oh God, yeah. And then because he's got such a good track record, he gets all the best people involved, so that it's not like he has to go to Elma May's acting school to find a lead. Open auditions.
Yeah, he can attract some top talent. Yeah. Well, how do you think storytelling has evolved over the decades in horror films?
I don't know. I mean, I am the least likely person. I was not a horror fan. I think the reason Friday the 13th was as scary as it was that I was scared to death as a child,
Right. And you were as scared as everybody watching.
I wasn't out there taking the temperature of the average audience, but I did go to see Halloween to see what the deal was. And I had the good fortune to go to a movie theater in the heart of Bridgeport, Connecticut, and the audience was mixed race, and it was wonderful to watch because I got people talking to the screen and also people just scared to death, and it was a wonderful baptism for me. So,
yeah, I bet. I mean, being in a movie theater for films like that, there's nothing like that kind of experience when people are screaming and shouting at the screen.
It works.
It does. Do you have any like your most memorable or gratifying moment from your daytime career that stands out in your mind?
I would say the first time I went up with Agnes DeMille, or Agnes DeMille,
Agnes Nixon.
Agnes Nixon. Thank you, Agnes DeMille. That was a dancer, right? Okay, Agnes Nixon to get the first Emmy.
To go up with Agnes, that's something.
And Sam Hall and all the other, not Sam Hall. It was I forgot who was the head writer at that point. Oh, yeah,
Lorraine, maybe.
No,
Was it Lorraine?
No, it's that other guy, and his name just went out of my head. One of the things you have to watch out for, I don't know whether you know this, Alan, but when you're 81, you won't remember my name.
You're doing a great job, Victor.
So far, so good, but it's work.
You are. I bet it. I bet. I think it's work at 55. So, I mean, Jonathan had to tell me that you and I, appeared somewhere together.
Oh, I feel much better. Tell Jonathan I still love him anyway.
You should. He definitely did. Well, it has been a pleasure to speak with you. Well, I was going to ask, you are retired. Do you spend time writing now?
Not a bit. No, I've read other people's screenplays, though I'm doing less of that now because it's just it's time consuming and stuff like that there. But no,
what do you mean by that? Did people come to you to say, "Would you give my?"
No, I got a reputation. I said, hey, I got nothing to do. If you want me to read a screenplay, I'll be glad to. And I did, and it started to pile up on my desk, and I don't charge, and I got a Writers Guild of America pension. What do I need your money to tell you not to give the whole plot away in the first moment? So I've done a lot of that, and I'm very proud of that. I think I'm just very entertaining everywhere I go.
Have you ever thought, or did you teach ever?
Yeah. Oh, I taught for 3 years at the Hill School in Pottstown, Pennsylvania, and it was great fun. I enjoyed the hell out of it because nobody could tell me no. I mean, in the classroom, hey, sit down, shut up. But then at one point, after 3 years there, my wife turned to me and she said, I don't think these teachers like these children. And I said, oh, okay. So we left, and I went to Tulane and got a master's in theater. So on a fellowship.
Well, you've done quite well, Mr. Miller. You've done quite well.
Well, I will leave you with the comment that I have told far too many times. And if my mother's in heaven or the other place, you're not going to tell that story again, are you? When she was at the old age place that was had an open tunnel to the afterworld, I was with her in one of the hallways, and one of her fellow denizens of the old age place came up, and she said, "This is my son, the writer, but he only wrote soap opera."
Boom, on that note.
On that note, dear.
On that note.
Hi, Mom.
Emmy-winning writer.
And bon vivant.
Yeah. Wow. Well,
thank you, Alan.
So nice to speak with you, Victor. Thank you so much for spending the time.
Let's do this again when you're 81. Okay,
you bet. That's a deal. Have a great Halloween. Happy Halloween to you, my friend. Bye-bye.
We lock the door on Halloween.
So do we.
Good.
Nope, nobody's coming in.
Adios. How do I get out of here? Leave studio.
I'll take care of it. I'll take care of it for you. Have a great weekend.
You too.
Bye-bye. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Victor. What a great time I had. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel down below if you haven't. Turn on notifications for reminders of all upcoming shows. We have some great guests next week. Rebecca Staub will be here on Wednesday. The Nanny's Renee Taylor and her son Gabe Bologna will join me on Thursday. And the one and only Eileen Fulton 1 week from today. Have a great Halloween, everybody, and thanks so much for watching.